Hi, welcome back to Fiber Threat Defense training video series. I'm Nanda. In this video, we are going to see the DNS policy available on access control policy. The DNS policy is very similar to security intelligence, the feature which we saw in the previous video, where it going to act as a first line of defense on your network to prevent the bad guys away from your network. Let's take an example. If your internal user by either email or by some accessing some sites, if he gets to access a no, if he gets to click an unknown link or URL on the email or on the web page, which gives access to a bad site, the DNS will play into a picture where DNS will check all the DNS query, and if the DNS query contains request for a domain which are categorized as a bad domain, FTD will intercept those DNS query, and then if it finds a bad domain, it is going to either drop the packet DNS query packet or reply back the client saying that domain does not exist, or instead of putting the real IP address, which is a bad domain, a bad IP, you put your own internal honeypot server IP address so that you can further investigate. These actions are available under DNS policy, which I'm going to show you in the upcoming video. So as I said, DNS is going to be very similar to security intelligence. Unlike SI acts on the IP address, DNS acts on DNS query. As we saw that when the packet comes, it's pre-filter policy, and if it allows, then it continues to check on the security intelligence rule. If it gets allowed, and if it is a DNS query, DNS packet, then DNS policy is getting checked, and we can define DNS policy rules, which I'm going to show you in the FMC. So DNS policy is available under policy, access control, and then DNS. You have system defined default DNS policy, where it has a default two rules. One is all the domains which is considered as good domains are being part of global whitelist for DNS, and then the domains which are categorized as a bad domain with various categories, right from DNS attackers, DNS botnet, DNS CNC drug, all these things are considered as a global domain. By default, any request to global blacklist are being the packets will get dropped, or it sends the FTD reply backs to the client saying that domain not found. Let's create a new DNS policy. So I'm going to this do default policy will be available. Let's create a new rule. So I'm going to say we have various actions. One is whitelist, which says that this condition meets good, so continue the DNS query to go out of the FTD, or just do monitor, send it, but log the event. Or if you find it is to a bad domain, drop the send back to the client saying that domain does not found. Or if you say mark action as drop, then the DNS query is dropped silently. And you can have say that syncrolling. So syncrolling, what it does is, when you say syncrolling, when a client sends a request, a DNS query request to the DNS server or to the DNS server outside through the FMC, and FMC found that this IP address or this domain is bad domain, and if the action is syncrolling, so whatever the IP address that you had given will be given as the DNS IP and then sent back to the client. So what happens now, this IP could be your own internal host, which could be your honeypot. The client thinks that that is the IP to reach the domain, and it sends a connection to the host. Then you can do a further inspection. So let's in this example I'm going to set this as action as syncalling, and then I have a policy which is called syncall. Let me show what I have configured on this in the later video. I'm going to say any request going to a particular domain. So in this case I'm going to create a custom domain. So type, you have two types of feeds. One is feed that you can get the feeds from your internet, or you can have a list where you can feed a text file. So I already have a text file which contains a domain which says host name. So one value is there inside. So I'm going to upload this and then say, so anything that comes here, any request to host that is within this file, do a sync calling. Let's apply this, save this policy, and then attach this DNS policy to the access control policy. Go to the access control policy, go to security intelligence section, and then under DNS, let's attach my newly created DNS policy. Okay, now that we have added, so I'm going to deploy this policy. Meanwhile it gets deployed, let me show what I've created under DNS syncalling policy, which is available under object manager, DNS syncall. Here I have created a policy which is a DNS syncalling, and then in that I have created my own internal IP address which is 1.1.1, and IPv6 has this IP address. Any DNS request which goes outside through the FTD, and FTD checks that DNS query, and then if it finds a domain or part of bad reputation, and if the action is syncall, it's going to put this IP address 1.1.1.1 as the IP address for the domain, bad domain, and then reply back to the client. Now the deployment is successful. Let's go to the host which is inside and do a DNS query. So I'm going to query the host name which is outside host, which I have put under blacklist. So as you could see that the DNS reply which has FTDS did a man middle and then proxy that IP, and then replied saying like 2001::11, that is the IPv6 address, and 1.1.1 is the IP which I had configured as part of syncalling that you can see it here. So this is because I had configured as syncalling. If I had configured as drop, then the host would not get the DNS reply packet at all, and if the action as domain not found, then the again host will get the DNS query reply packet, but it says that there is no domain IP address found for this domain. So this feature is going to be very useful for you in case of keeping the bad repeated domains out from your internal users. With this, we have come to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. See you soon in the next video. Bye bye.